Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taramina.
Welcome to OAA Now. I'm Sammy Taramina, blogger of the Dragon's Den, and also one of the hosts between Terminas and O1 TV. We're going to talk about first here on OAA Now. Of course, you got girls volleyball. Of course, league play starts this week if you're in the OAA Red. We've had a couple upsets. Also, we're going to go over last week's games. When you look at some of those matches, especially a loony, crazy game at Clarkston with the Wolves beating the Lakers in a slugfest, 55-41. And also, we're going to talk about this week's games. Of course, some of the big games this week there for week 4. Not a lot of big games, but you got the big one between Oxford, Lake Orion, and also you got Stony Creek and Clarkston, which those two games are going to be very, very interesting heading into this matchup. But first, we're going to talk about girls volleyball. Of course, we've had a lot of things going on over the last week and a half. Of course, Clarkston had a 4-way quad with themselves, Birmingham, Seaholm, Birmingham, Marion, and Macomb, Dakota. Of course, Seaholm and Marion are in the same district for volleyball. Of course, that one's at Birmingham, Marion. Of course, but Clarkston, of course, sweeping the quad, of course, beating Seaholm, beating Birmingham, Marion, beating Macomb, Dakota. Macomb, Dakota this year is not as good as people thought. Of course, they're trying to recover after losing Carly Snyder. It's going to be a tough year for Coach Tracy Ferguson and her staff, especially having to deal with the MAC Red, especially how good Romeo is, and, of course, having to deal with some of the and also some of the good teams in Macomb County. You got Grosse Pointe North, who's a not bad team there, and, of course, that's going to be some issues there. Birmingham Marion, of course, and when I look at them, very young for Angela Kosecki. But they still got a good crew. They got a very good player. I know, and I don't remember her name right now, but and of course you got Birmingham you look at the Catholic League, especially when you got Birmingham Seaholm, you got Farmington Hills Mercy, and you got Pontiac Notre Dame Prep. It's not going to be an easy matchup this year for any of those teams. I think those are the 3 top teams in the Catholic League. When they look at it, I still believe in my mind that a lot of people are going to say Birmingham Marion is one of the top teams, but I just think right now the best team in the Catholic League right now is Farmington Hills Mercy. Angela Vogel's done a very nice job over there in building the Marlins. But I just think right now that way Mercy's playing, I think it's going to be tough to beat there. Of course, also Birmingham Seaholm, of course, they're another team in the quad. Of course, they're my ranked number 1 in the Dragon's Den volleyball poll for this season. They got a lot of experience back for Coach Headed Leopard. But the schedule is going to be tough for Birmingham Seaholm. But remember, this is the same team that won the Novi Invitational just a couple weeks ago. So the Maples are going to be a very, very tough threat, especially when it comes to the Red, of course. But you got to deal with Lake Orion, Clarkston. Those are the 2 top teams, I think, right now in the Red. But also Seaholm's going to be up there as well, But also keep an eye on a couple of these teams coming up. We'll go over the Red in about a couple minutes here. One of the games we're going to talk about, one of the matches, speaking of Clarkston, of course, this is a unique team. When I look at what Taylor Dillinger, of course, their best player, of course, Clarkson's for Coach Kelly Averill Pinter, she said that they can win over the Red. I looked at the paper, I read it, and I said to myself, what are you thinking, girl? You just opened up the fire for the momentum, because you got to play Birmingham Seaholm on Thursday in the Maples Forest, that's one of the most hostile places. I think Birmingham Seaholm is it's a tough place to play. I think that but also Clarkson knows Seaholm knows Clarkson. I think that it'll be a very interesting matchup right there. But I just did not like the comments that she said about the Red and about that they can handle the Red. Here's the thing: you got Lake Orion in there, of course. The Dragons, this is a interesting team under Coach Tony Scrivata. But to just say that you can beat everybody in the Red, you got moxie, you got confidence, but the problem is, you just lit a fire for this team, and I think that and I know Clarkson's got to play Lake Orion at home, but you just opened up the fire and the floodgates. That's not going to be an easy thing to do, but see what happens there. Seaholm. Clarkson's going to get tested early on with Seaholm, and of course, speaking of Clarkson was at the Flushing Invitational, where Lake Orion won that Invitational. Of course, they played Clarkson 3 times in that tournament. Lake Orion won all 3 of them. The finals, which is very, very interesting. When I look at the scores, Lake Orion winning in 3 games, 25, and 25. 12, 25-13, and 25-21. That's perhaps one of the most. It was shocking to see, especially. But I can understand Clarkson being tired and all that. But also Lake Orion also was in the same boat. But when I look at the Dragons, this. It all comes down to team chemistry for them. I think that I got Tony Scarvato, who's done done a nice job with this group. I just think right now that and of course they got a huge one coming up with Oxford on Thursday. And of course that match with Oxford, of course, very unique. You got Oxford, of course, coached by I can't remember the name, Chrissy McDevitt. That's the one. Of course, she lost last year, Darian Bandel. Darian Bandel was one of the best hitters to ever come out of Oxford, and to see her gone, that. But they do have some quality players. You got Grace Wasaki there. You got Kennedy Orr. Those 2 girls are going to be huge for that, for Oxford. I think it's going to be a huge, critical part of that matchup here. Of course, on TV will be covering that game. My insight of that Lake Orion Oxford volleyball matchup, I'm going to say Lake Orion wins this probably in about 3-4 games, because I just think right now that when it comes to league schedule, I think that Oxford's not deep enough. They'll work hard, yes. Chrissy McDevitt's going to do a very good job over there, but I just think right now Lake Orion's got too much, especially if the right side, led by Leah Kaluger and Corey Varney, that they do their jobs. I think this team's going to be a very dangerous team. And also got Nicole Weiner, you got Natalie Weiner, I think, and you got Hannah Murdoch on the outside and Weiss Herkmans on the inside. I just think right now Lake Orion's got too much for Oxford in that matchup. A couple games that shocked me over the week was one of them occurred at Troy High School. On Thursday, of course, the rivalry match between Troy Athens and Troy. Troy Athens beating Troy in 4 games. That was just mind-boggling. When you look at Troy, they returned 13 of 14 starters from a team that lost. Just one player, and that was Olivia Parks. And then see Troy Athens, of course, very young team. They had an experienced team last year, of course, gone as Lauren Jenner, Mary Grace Stark, etc. But Lauren Atwell, sorry. But also to see Christine Stainchuk's team just go in there and virtually just beat Troy at their own game. It was something it was mind-boggling to see. Of course, you gotta give props to Christine Stainchuk for what she did over there, and also that's that team at Troy Athens, the first win that they've had over Troy in probably a long time. Of course, these 2 teams are going to play, and I'll bet you for Troy, of course, this hurts, especially for Vince Muscat, because you're in the same district, and also you're in a tougher division, which is, not saying that the White's a tough division, because the White's still, you got Groves in there, you got Royal Oak in there. But still, to see Troy Athens, a team in the white, beat Troy, a team in the red, that's just shocking right there. And it's completely mind-boggling to see that Troy, a team that has 13 of 14 starters back, to see them get beat the way they did, that was just completely out of the mind, just shocking, And then, of course, and then the last one here for volleyball we're going to talk about is of course, it's Royal Oak defeating Berkeley in 4 games. Both these teams are going to be very, very good this year. I expect them both to be very good. I expect them to be a dangerous contender in the district and could threaten Groves' reign as district champions. But Royal Oak, of course, a team with Alyssa Kopinski. You know what I mean? She's going to be a dynamic player. Royal Oak's got a very good experienced crew. But then, of course, I see Royal Oak when they played, they laid an egg against somebody. I know that they did not play well against, I think it was Royal Oak Shrine that they played. Yeah, it was Royal Oak Shrine, I think. But they just played just awful. And that one, and that was Royal Oaks had some consistency troubles. I mean, like, but to start league play on top, I mean, like, this, it helps Royal Oak based on their competence, and also it could help them in a long way heading into the year. When it looks at the Ravens, when looking at the outlook, especially, and of course back to the Flushing Invitational, you know, a lot of people look at the Flushing Invitational, you know, I mean, like, it was a team that, the North, you know what I mean, you got some northern teams in there, but Sea Lake Orion Clarkson playing the district final in the Flushing Invitational final, very interesting matchup, especially with these two teams likely going to have to see each other. I think both these teams are going to go to Portage this weekend. I know Lake Orion's going to Portage Central this weekend. I mean, like, I'm not sure if Clarkson's going. You know, I'm not sure if Seaholm's going or, you know, but Portage Central always has a very tough tournament over there. I mean, like, over the west side of the state. I mean, like, I just think right now that when you look at the west side of the state teams, of course, you got Granville in there. You got East Kentwood in there. I mean, like, it's going to be a tough tournament, no doubt. And, of course, I also got Rockford in there, of course, Rockford, of course, remember they beat Lake Orion State Finals in 2011. I mean, like, but still, this is a very unique tournament. You got Portage Central. I mean, like, Portage Central, they always do a good job at doing their tournaments. When looking at this game, when looking at the invitation, of course, I don't have a preview thing with me here, but there'll be some pretty good teams going over there. You know, we'll see what happens when they go over there heading into the year. But when I look at these teams, of course, especially in the red, you know, it'd be Lake Orion Clarkson or Seaholm that wins it, you know, and especially when it comes to district play, of course, when it comes to league play, of course, Clarkson can talk right now. They have 7 league championships, but I don't know about number 8 because, you know, I'm not sold on this team. I mean, they got a very good freshman. I know that Clarkson does. I mean, like, but also go with Dillinger, but and they do have Lake Orion at home. They have to go to Seaholm, you know. When I look at those 2 games, I think that as I said, I like Lake Orion over Oxford in 3 or 4, and I like I'm gonna take Seaholm to beat Clarkson because I think that Clarkson really has not seen the what home field has been like, especially Birmingham Seaholm, especially at home. I mean, like, we'll just see what happens there. I just think that the Maples are gonna give the Wolves a lot of problems. And, of course, another team to watch out for in that league is Bloomfield Hills because they still got some experience. I mean, like, no doubt. I mean, they have that junior class that's back, of course. They do have some experience, but I just think right now, when looking at Bloomfield Hills, I mean, like, the Blackhawks right now, I probably would have to put them either at a strong 3-4 maybe. You know what I mean? When looking at Royal Oak. All right, when we come back here on OA Now, we're going to talk about some football here. Of course, last week's games here on OA Now.
Residents of the Orion area are encouraged to safely dispose of toxic chemicals by attending one of several No-Haz events scheduled throughout the year. Orion Township will host an event on Saturday, September 20th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Friendship Park and is free to residents. Drop off computers and electronics, paint, pesticides, cleaners, and batteries. A team of trained volunteers and professionals will be on hand to collect, sort, and package the items for proper disposal or recycling. For more information, visit nohaz.com or call 248-858-5656.
Welcome back to OA Now. I'm Sammy, blogger of the Dragon's Den, and also one of the hosts of Between Terminus here on O1 TV. You can see I'm coming in for last week's games, of course, week 3. Very interesting games. I mean, like, we'll go from bottom to top. I mean, like, the new Dragon's Den top 10 is out. I mean, you can see some changes here. I mean, out is Avondale, of course, and in is Berkeley. Berkeley is 3-0, probably for the first time since, I think, 2008, I think. But I got to look at my archives there. But Berkeley is now back in the Dragon's Den top 10 at number 10. Of course, and of course they had a really nice win in double overtime, knocking off Ferndale 20-14. Ferndale's a very, very good team. I mean, like, Eric Lloyd's done a very nice job in turning that program. Eric Royal, has done a very good job turning that program around. I just think that right now, Ferndale, I look at Ferndale, I think they're probably the 4th or 5th best team in the blue. When you look at, you have Farmington, Avondale, Berkeley in there. I mean, like Groves, actually, and Groves in there. So they're probably the 4th, 5th best team in that league when looking at it. I mean, when you look at last week's games, of course, Pontiac winning their first game since 2012, extending Hazel Park's losing streak to 16 games. They snapped a 12-game losing streak of their own by knocking off Hazel Park 17-0. Pontiac, of course, very unique, very interesting matchup here. I mean, like, when you look at the Phoenix, I thought Pontiac had way too many athletes, I think, to overcome with Hazel Park. I mean, like, Kyle Rowley over there at Hazel Park, he's been struggling, even trying to find kids. Even when I talked to Keith Dunlap last week of the Oakland Press, he said that he's having some issues trying to find students to play for him. And, he's going in the hall saying, hey, come out and play some football. You know what I mean? Like, which is very difficult, you know what I mean? Because, unfortunately, of course, Hazel Park's a whole nother animal when you look at it here. I mean, like, out is Scott Guthrie, of course. When you're trying to replace a losing culture, it's hard to do. When you look at Hazel Park, I mean, like, it's a tough situation to look at, especially there, but also at Pontiac, it's the same thing over there for John Floyd. I mean, like, trying to build a program there, especially when the depths of a financial situation, you don't know when your school's gonna end up losing money. I mean, like, not having a program, you know what I mean? So you really don't know the uncertainties, especially over there at Pontiac, wherein you've had to deal with almost having an emergency manager. You're having to go through a consent agreement over at Pontiac schools. I mean, like, it's a tough situation over there at Pontiac, but it's really nice for the Phoenix to get that win. It's an important win for Pontiac because it gives them some confidence, even though next week could be a little bit challenging. And we'll go over that in the third segment. Of course, but for Pontiac, it's a huge win, but now it's time to move on and focus on next week. All right, next game we're going to talk about here, recapping, is North Farmington and Rochester. Of course, North Farmington had a very tough loss last week to Birmingham Seaholm. Went into Rochester, beating 24-7. For Rochester, this is a good start for Eric Vernon, of course, scoring some points. Of course, they added a touchdown against North Farmington. I mean, like, but when you look at Rochester's season, they're 0-3. They've had 2 shutouts against them. They lost to Lapeer and they lost to Harrison. Of course, we'll go over them in a minute. But with Rochester, I just think right now that they're starting to get some points, but they're still struggling a little bit, especially defensively. When you look at Rochester's team, I mean, like, they knew it was going to be a tough going down from the red to the white. I mean, like, I just think right now that the red is right now is balanced, but the white is more tougher right now. And for Rochester's sake, it's going to be tough along the get-go. But for North Farmington, it's a huge win for them. They got to get ready for a tough one. They got to get ready for a tough one with Southfield. And that's going to be an interesting matchup because, like, North Farmington's got some talent. I mean, like, they can throw the ball a lot. I mean, they got a defense. But when you look at North Farmington, of course, they've had some wins early on. Of course, they're 2-1. They should be 3-0 right now. I mean, like, when you look at the Raiders, I mean, the game against Seaholm, they gave that one away. I mean, like, that was a bad decision by Kyle Schultz to go for it on 4th down. And right now, it's not a good omen right now to see that. And it is what it is. I mean, like, but for North Farmington, of course, they sit at 2-1, but we'll see what happens there for North Farmington and Raider Nation. Of course, another game we're going to talk about is getting back on track. Of course, is Rochester Adams. The Highlanders, of course, they got back on track in a big way by blowing out Birmingham Seaholm 34-7. I mean, like, I picked Seaholm in this game. I mean, like, because I thought Adams' pass defense would be exposed. Like, man, was I wrong. I mean, like, but Seaholm, Adams found a way to shut down Tommy Shepard. Clarence Barackloff and Kyle Wood went off in that game. Adams really controlled tempo. They really made the happy folks over there in Rochester really happy to win that game. I mean, it's a huge, huge win for Adams, to get back into the win column, I expect, and of course in 2 weeks they got to go to Oak Park, and that's going to be just a interesting matchup right there, of course, so it'll be a unique matchup, I think, for Adams, but with Adams, it's going to be a very, very interesting experience when it comes for them. Another game I was very shocked about, of course, Southfield 62, Royal Oak nothing. Why is Royal Oak still in the white? Why? When I look at Royal Oak, of course, in their last 3 games, of course, against Utica Ford, Oak Park, and Southfield, they allowed 124 points right now, and they've allowed 41.3 points a game. That's inexcusable. This was a team that went 4-5 last year in the blue, and even though I didn't think they deserved to move up to the white, I still thought Farmington would have stayed, but to see what's going on and what's going wrong at Royal Oak, it's just mind-boggling. It's frightening to see. And then they're not even competitive, and Royal Oak's a team that they deserve to be in the blue. They should stay in the blue, next year. There should be an emergency meeting when it comes about Royal Oak, because Tim Chapman's team really does not have a chance. For granted, they played 3 games on the road. This will be their first home game, I think, of the year, and it's against Rochester Adams. And also Coach Ryan Irish returns. That's going to be frightening right there for Royal Oak. It could get really, really ugly over there next week. There's no doubt about it. Royal Oak is a mess right now. Tim Chapman has got a very tough job ahead of him over there at Royal Oak. How are you going to get these kids to play when you're getting beat up like 36-0, and that was just a half against Oak Park, and then last week you get beat up 62-0? Why? It's frightening. I feel really bad for Royal Oak right now, especially because they're in the white. They shouldn't be in the white, and it's unfortunate. I'm very disappointed in the league that they would put Royal Oak in the white and not keep Farmington down. Speaking of Farmington, of course, they went and shut out Auburn Hills Avondale 35-0. They were dominant, shut down Josh Hallman. They made it was not a good situation at all for Avondale. Avondale just really did not stand a chance against Farmington. They had their chances, but Farmington, of course, this is a team, another team that I think should stay up in the white, because last year that team was 2-7. Now they're sitting 2-1. Farmington has not made me impressive when I look at them. They haven't played anybody good yet. Avondale, of course, Avondale was a very good team, yes. But there's a reason why Avondale's in the blue. There's a reason. Harrison just went in and whooped Farmington week 1. Farmington did not have a chance in that game against Harrison. And there was a reason why they did not have a chance against Harrison. It's because Harrison is a better program than Farmington. If those two teams are supposed to play in the playoffs, which could happen, I think Farmington gets whooped again by Harrison. And that game would have to be at Harrison. If it's at Farmington, I still take Harrison over Farmington. Because Farmington does not know how to beat Harrison. They haven't done it in 2012. They haven't done it in about 6 years. I remember 2012 when Farmington had all the hype. They were ranked in the Dragon's Den poll. They were going up against an unranked Harrison team. Harrison just put a whooping on them. And that was a bad Harrison team that went in with Farmington. And Farmington was not the same team after that. Because when Lake Orion went, they had an 18-0 lead on the Dragons. And then they ended up giving up 43 straight points and got whooped. 43-18. That's what it is. Farmington, of course, this is a team, this year in the blue, you got to buy them, unfortunately, because, they're good. They got a lot of good athletes, but I think their stock is down. I think they're really down. And I think, when I look at Farmington, of course, they still got to play Walled Lake Central to close out the year. Walled Lake Central actually just destroyed Walled Lake Northern the other night, 47-28. Goodness gracious, that's going to be just a terrible matchup for Farmington heading into their final regular season game, week 9. I mean, Farmington's been very impressive, but I would say I'm not that impressed with Farmington at all. Next game we're going to talk about, of course, is we already talked Berkeley Ferndale. Of course, Groves 20, Southfield Lathrop 7. Groves is for real, folks. This team, of course, they lost Ross Williams a year ago. They got a very good running back. I mean, Zach Van Fossen's having a heck of a year again. I mean, Groves right now is a team that they haven't missed a beat. You know what I mean? I think Groves is going to make some. I think they're going to get Farmington problems. I think they're going to get Berkeley problems. This is a team to watch out for. It's Groves. They got a very tough game to close out the year at Waterford Mott. I'm not going to forgive that. But Groves right now is on the right pace, right trail. You know what I mean? They're doing some damage right now. I think they got one of the best uniform combinations in the state when they're with their green and their black, especially at home. And then the road ones, I wish they would have put the nameplates in the back, but it is what it is with their fashion statement over their Groves. But Groves is doing a heck of a job. And also they're very young. This is a very young team. But so this is a good time to see. You know what I mean? If you're a Groves fan, or if you're a Groves student or coach, or teacher, this is a good thing. Good thing feeling right now for Groves. Next game we're going to talk about last week, of course, Stony Creek 41, Bloomfield Hills 28. This game was tied 28 all last week heading into the fourth quarter. Stony Creek had to score a couple touchdowns to pull away. But when you look at Stony Creek, it looks like something could be dwindling a little bit. Their defense, of course, defense they're still a good defense. But it was shocking to see them give 28 points to Bloomfield Hills. Yeah, Bloomfield Hills got Nate Emery, but still, it's not an excuse. But especially when I don't know if Stony Creek was looking ahead to Clarkston. I don't know. But that was mind-boggling to see what happened over there with Stony Creek. Stony Creek right now sits 2-1. Of course, they got to play Clarkston. They still got Lake Orion in 2 weeks. And then got West Bloomfield in 3 weeks. So it'll be an interesting situation to look at it here, and we'll see what happens there. Another game we're going to talk about, of course, is Oxford 56, Troy Athens 20. What the world? I said last week about Troy Athens' defense. It was garbage. It was atrocious. Now I cannot believe this team gave up 8 rushing touchdowns against Oxford, against Wildcats. Oxford loves to pound the rock, yes. But to see a team like Troy Athens give 8 touchdowns, everything looked good for them against Macomb Lodge Cruz North, even though they won 34-31. I just think right now that when you look at Troy Athens, this team is in a lot of trouble. I think Troy Athens is in a huge amount of trouble. They lost to Lake Orion last week. They lost 2 weeks ago. They lost to Oxford. And now they got to play West Bloomfield. This team's in a whole mess of trouble, of course. And everybody said Troy Athens is supposed to be a sleeper of this league. I don't think they're a sleeper. I really think personally Stony Creek's a sleeper. I think Troy Athens is overrated. They got a good quarterback in Alex Massat. But I just think right now the way that Josh Hepner's playing, has his team playing, I think Troy Athens right now is in the hot seat. There's no doubt about it. I think that Troy Athens is in a world of trouble. of course, with Oxford, of course, you got Glacier Wallington doing well, Scott Schugerback doing well. I mean, like, got Dallas Truitt doing well. Of course, they got a big one this week. Everybody knows that. I mean, like, so we'll see what happens there. Oxford's going to be getting ready for that huge one this week. Next, what we're going to talk about is Oxford's opponent, Lake Orion, 35-7 over Troy. This team looked awful in the first half. Dragons just looked terrible. I mean, like, here was a team that could not block, they could not play any defense. You know, they gave pass after pass after pass after pass. They don't have a defense. When I look at Lake Orion's defense, you know, they're allowing 22.3 points a game. That's the same stat as last year, or maybe even worse. And that's already halfway through the season. And that's already 3 games in the season. They're allowing 22.3 points a game. You know, this team right now, defensively, could be in a huge lot of trouble this week against Oxford. But when you look at this game, no doubt, when you look at this game, I mean, like, when you look at this defense, the key, but this is a better matchup, I think, for Lake Orion because Oxford's a pound-and-rock team. Now, Oxford will throw the ball. Lake Orion's had problems against teams that throw the ball. But still, this is a team, Lake Orion, I think, you know, they're a better team. I think they're a better team, but they got to show it. And it's got to start defensively with this team. Troy, of course, on the other hand, of course, Eric Peperangre has a good back, good football player. I like him a lot. I mean, like, I thought he played well in spurts. I mean, but right now, Troy's not benefiting because they're not deep right now. You know, they've had 3 tough games. This defense is still very solid. Their defense is going to be very good. I think they're going to get Bloomfield Hills problems this week. But Troy, they got a bright future ahead of them. If I'm Troy, I stay the course. Next game we're going to talk about here is, of course, you got Oak Park 27, Harrison nothing. Harrison shut out for the first time since 2004. When Lake Orion beat him 19-0. I played on that team. I played on that team that beat Harrison 19-0. And let me tell you something. That Harrison team struggled that year. See, Oak Park put 27 points up against a Harrison team. Harrison, more athletic. I mean, Harrison, same team, of course, very athletic, led by Javon Shaw. I just think right now that Harrison is Harrison right now is beyond Oak Park. Oak Park's for real. They're legit. John Kelly's legit. You know, Chauncey Loman's legit. Junior McMullen's legit. Juan Hernandez is legit. You know what I mean? Heck, that whole Oak Park team's legit. You know, that's a huge win for Oak Park. Huge win. A lot better than allowing 60 points last year against Harrison. That's a lot better. Then the last game we're going to talk about here before we go to break is Clarkston 55, West Bloomfield 41. Clarkston's defense. A lot of people look at this defense. I criticize his defense all year. I criticize Clarkson's defense. And this is another reason why. They were tied 34-34 at halftime. At the end of their quarter, correction. And to see them score, and to see Clarkson outscore West Bloomfield 21-7 without their best lineman, Eddie Wilson, who got thrown out in that game, along with 2 other assistant coaches. I don't know what he did. He's out for the game with Troy Athens, but he'll be back 2 weeks when they go to Lake Orion. I mean, but for Clarkson, of course, DJ Zazula playing very well. He had 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. He had a passing touchdown. But still, I mean, like, but to see 96 points scored in that game, that tells you what you have to say about West Bloomfield. This team's a very good offense, led by Trishan Jackson, Michael King. I mean, like, this is a very, very... West Bloomfield's got nothing to be ashamed of losing to Clarkson. You know? Put up 41 points. Wins you games. It wins you games. It'll win you championships. West Bloomfield, in my opinion, even if they get in 5-4, they're still a playoff team. They are still a playoff team. They're that legit. When we come back, we're going to talk about Week 3 coming up, of course, here on OAA Now.
Hello, I'm Mike Bouchard, the Oakland County Sheriff. There's a big problem that faces all the communities in America today, and that's abuse of legitimate prescription drugs. Sometimes they're left in the home when a loved one passes away, or they're in the medicine cabinet for someone else, and a youngster in the home steals it and they abuse it. It's one of the fastest growing drug abuses that we see in our community and across the country. Secondly, we see these drugs oftentimes when they're no longer utilized being flushed down the drain, and we're seeing higher levels of residual pharmaceuticals in our waterways and our streams. So, to solve two problems with one effort, we partnered with Home Instead Senior Care to start a program called Operation Medicine Cabinet to get those drugs out of the homes, out of the hands of youngsters, and out of the waterway, and safely and environmentally destroy them. Learn more about the program at OperationMedicineCabinetMI.com and be part of the solution. Thank you.
Welcome back to OAA Now. I'm Sammy, blogger of the Dragon's Den, and also host Between Terminus on O1 TV. I have apologies to, of course, being corrected here. It's week 4 that we're going to talk about this week. Couple interesting games coming up here, but we're going to talk about some of the bottom games. Of course, we're going to go first. It's an interesting game over there, Farmington against Ferndale. You know, Ferndale, very good coach, and against Farmington. Of course, Farmington very athletic, but I just think Farmington's due for a letdown. You know, when I look at Farmington, they had a nice win over Avondale. They blew out Avondale. 35-0. And I think Farmington's due for a disaster. Ferndale, this is a team that lost in double overtime, 20-14. This is a team, in my opinion, that could do some damage. Ferndale, you know, they're good coach, they're well coached, they're well balanced. You know what? I'm gonna say it right now here on this on the show here. I'm gonna say it right now on OA Now. I'm gonna take Ferndale. Ferndale upsets Farmington this week. Here is why. This is a team that is going to. This is why Farmington's going to get beat. It's because they have this team's not very good in letdown games. You know what I mean? Look at Farmington. Of course, they got destroyed by Harrison. But they had some 2 nice wins. Everybody's talking high about Farmington, but when they come down, they're going to come down hard. And I look at this game here. The game's at Ferndale. Ferndale, even though they're got a little disadvantage with depth, especially against Farmington, I just think right now I like Ferndale pull up the upset over Farmington. Of course, another game that's going to be next thing we're going to talk about here. Of course, this is probably one of the most shameless games of the week, unfortunately, and it's Rochester Adams at Royal Oak. The return of Ryan Irish to Royal Oak, that is just mind-boggling, of course, to see Ryan Irish, a former Lake Orion assistant, over at Rochester Adams, a rival school. It's just, and of course, you're going up against your former troops over at Royal Oak, your team that carried you to a 4-5 season last year. This was just, then you go unexpectedly away to go coach Adams for Tony Petrino. And then their defense, of course, allowing in the last 2 weeks, allowing a total of 98 points. You know, that is just frightening, especially, and of course, this is your third tough opponent, your first home game of the regular, that's your second home game of the regular season, and you're playing against probably a veer option. I just think, I rank right now Rochester Adams, it would not surprise me. They put up over 60 against Royal Oak. This is a defense that is just completely just awful. I'm sorry to say, I think Royal Oak's defense may be worse than Hazel Park's. But I'm not going there yet. But I just think right now, Adams, ruling right now, they're just going to kill Royal Oak in the worst way possible. It's not even going to be funny. I'm sorry. It ain't going to even be funny. Next game we're going to talk about here, it's a unique matchup here. You got Bloomfield Hills against Troy. This is going to be Troy's first home game of the regular season, going up against Bloomfield Hills, a team that it's been competitive until all 3 games until resulting in losses. They were very competitive against Wall Lake Northern. They've been very competitive against I mean, they weren't competitive against Clarkson. I mean, but they weren't. But they were competitive last week against Stony Creek. I mean, like, I think when you look at this game here, between Bloomfield Hills and Troy, this is a good matchup of 2-star players. You got Troy, you got Eric Pepriangria, and then you got with Bloomfield Hills, it's Nate Emery. I think right now, I think Emery is probably the best player on the in this game. You know, but I mean, like, but then again, you got all the momentum at home for Troy. I mean, like, Troy's played a much tougher schedule, I think. You know, the Troy's had to play Lake Orion, Sterling Heights, Stevenson, and and West Bloomfield. I mean, like, I just think right now I'm gonna take Troy to win this game very close, because I think the Colts defense is gonna be huge in this game. I just think that Troy, they have enough energy. I think that being at home is gonna help this team out a lot. And I think right now when you look at Troy, this team, I think they're gonna be just fine. Heading into the rest of the regular season. Got another unique game here coming up. You got Southfield Lathrop against Avondale. Of course, Lathrop, a team that went from the white to the blue. Avondale just got completely whooped last week by Farmington on the road, now returns home. When you look at Lathrop, of course, Reggie Harris, of course, very good athletic quarterback. I was very disappointed in his last 2 games, especially when they played Farmington, you know what I mean, that he didn't do more for them. And, of course, Lathrop, of course, last week against Groves, they just, you know, Groves is a good defense. There's no doubt about that. But still, it's not an excuse to see, and, of course, you're going up against one of the best running backs in the state, Josh Hallman. And, of course, Josh Hallman was shut down pretty bad last week by Farmington. But still, I mean, like, I like Avondale in this game because of experience. I just think that Holland's going to be a huge factor in this one. I think they're going to do some damage. I think they're going to create a huge impact. And I think right now that Avondale, they're going to be just ticked off. And it would not surprise me if they are going to be ticked off in that one. Of course, we're going to go to the top ranking games. Of course, the top 10 Dragons Den games. Den pool games. First, we're going to go with number 10 Berkeley going up against Hazel Park. I mean, Berkeley right now is rolling right now. They're 3-0. Their defense is legit. I mean, they had a very tough surviving match with Ferndale. You know, this was a low defensive game. Ferndale, Berkeley's defense is for real. They're legit. I mean, like, I don't think they're going to have any problem with Hazel Park at all. I mean, like, it's going to be just a absolute spanking. I think it's going to be like Hazel Park, of course. Not a lot of depth. Not a lot of talent. I mean, like, this team, if they shock Berkeley, I will be stunned. I mean, like, I don't give Hazel Park no chance in this game. I mean, like, you know, Kyle Rowley is going to do a very good job over there at Hazel Park, but when you look at their demeanor, they feel like shocked. They feel shaken. I mean, like, they feel, where's the momentum? Where's the motivation to play? I mean, like, I just think right now Berkeley's going to be, it's going to be just frightening to watch. I mean, like, I like Berkeley come out on top pretty bad. Next thing we're going to talk about here is Pontiac against Groves. Groves returns home after a 2-game road trip. Of course, one of them knocking off Ferndale and knocking off Southfield Lathrop last week. I mean, like, but this Groves team, of course, very, very good, very athletic. I mean, like, they're going up against the Pontiac team that's struggled, you know, really been struggling, but they got a huge win last week against Hazel Park. I just think right now when you look at it here, this is just a terrible matchup for Hazel Park, for Pontiac. I mean, like, the Phoenix are going to struggle in this game. There's no, I mean, this is going to be just a long, long game for Pontiac. I mean, like, I think I like Groves in this one to pull it out, and it's going to be just a smatterhouse. It's going to be bad, bad, bad. Next thing we're going to talk about here, of course, is Rochester at number 4, Oak Park. I mean, like, of course, Oak Park just steamrolled Harrison 27-0. Rochester's has been only scored 7 points in the last 3 games. This matchup just looks just awful on paper. I mean, like, I'm sorry. Rochester looks completely lost. I don't know if they're going to score a point this week against Oak Park. Oak Park's defense is legit. They got a very good running back in John Kelly. Chauncey Loman's going to be a very, very. I think Chauncey Loman goes for probably gets his first 200-yard game of the season. I think he's going to have at least 215 yards and 3 touchdowns, and this is going to be over by the end of the third quarter. I like Hope Park's going to blow out Rochester pretty bad. And then, of course, the next game here we're going to talk about, very unique matchup. We got Farmington Hills Harrison and Birmingham Seaholm. Seaholm, of course, they beat North Farmington 17-16 2 weeks ago. And then they go out and lay an egg at Rochester against Rochester Adams. I mean, where's this defense supposed to be at? Where is their momentum? And now they're going to play a very angry Harrison team. This is going to be just such a bad matchup, I think, for Seaholm. Even though it's in the Maple Forest, Seaholm's going to do everything they can to cheer their team on, you know what I mean, to just do whatever it takes to do it. But they got no chance against them. They got no chance against Harrison. I mean, Harrison's mad. They're angry. And it's going to be just a funeral. I think Harrison wins that one by more than 3 touchdowns. Of course, next game here we go is West Bloomfield and Troy Athens. West Bloomfield number 5 in the Dragons Den poll, of course. This is a team that lost a tough one to Clarkston 55-41. Troy Athens, of course, their defense has been completely atrocious. They gave up 56 last week. I don't see how, in the matter of when you look at West Bloomfield and their team, very, very good, very athletic, real balanced. I think they're gonna probably have Troy Athens beat by the end of the third quarter. Rest their starters getting ready for the Lake Orion game next week. I just think that West Bloomfield is going to bury Troy Athens in the worst way possible in that one. When you look at Troy Athens, their defense has been pathetic. I mean, just pathetic. I mean, when you look at it. When you look at Troy Athens, I mean, they're gonna have a good quarterback in Alice Massat, but who else? I mean, they don't really have a true line. I mean, I mean, it's gonna be very tough for them to score points, especially against West Bloomfield's athletic defense. Even though they allowed 55 points last week, but then again, Clarkson and Troy Athens' offense are in 2 different stratospheres. I like West Bloomfield to blow out Troy Athens in that game, like I said here earlier. Of course, we got 3 more games to go here. First we're gonna talk about is Southfield and North Farmington. I mean, there's a lot of interesting games right there, but North Farmington got a lot of experience. I think they're gonna give them. They could give Southfield problems, but I just think Southfield's way too athletic in the way too athletic. They just buried Royal Oak 62-0. I mean, but this game is at North Farmington. But I just think right now, with the way Southfield's playing, I just think with the way that the Blue Jays are doing right now, I just think Southfield's going to roll in this game by a score of I think they might put up. They're going to put up less than 62, but I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive. I think North Farmington's going to put some points up, but I just think Southfield's going to win this game pretty handily. Of course, the next game we're going to talk about is number 9 Stony Creek against number 1 Clarkston. This is a unique matchup here for Clarkston. Of course, Clarkston I think is in the same boat that Lake Orion was last year. Of course, Lake Orion, of course, let's remember they went into Stony Creek. They ended up getting beat 36-7 by the Cougars. The Cougars had a very nice defensive game plan. They had their defenses, and of course they injured the quarterback. Of course, that was Connor Grant, who got hurt last year, and Stony Creek just took advantage. They pressured Lake Orion all night long, and then I just think in this game right now, I think Stony Creek's going to give Clarkson problems. I really do. I just have a strange feeling. There is something playing at Stony Creek, that gets them ready to go. Stony Creek, of course, they beat Lake Orion last year, and they beat Adams this year. I think, when they look at Clarkson, they're talented. Yes, Clarkson's very talented. But their defense, I'm not sold on their defense. I mean, they have some guys that go 2 ways. I just think right now that Clarkston, when I look at it here, I think Clarkson will win this game, but it'll be closer than the experts think, because I think that Stony Creek is going to be in it with them until the very end. But I just think right now that, with the way that offense is rolling right now, I think that Clarkston I think they're gonna win this game. I'm gonna probably say 31-28. I think because I'm not sold on Clarkson's defense. Stony Creek, they put up 41 last week. But they were tied 28 all with Bloomfield Hills. I just think right now that Clarkston and Stony Creek are in in two different stratospheres. Because last year was 35-0 Clarkston over Stony Creek. And that should be more motivation for Stony Creek, especially heading into that stretch. And then the last game we're going to talk about here, it's the OAA Trophy game between Lake Orion and Oxford. When you look at this game, this is going to be just a physical battle. You look at what Oxford's got in Glacier Wallington, Sean Stugenbach, Dallas Truitt. Lake Orion's got, of course, you got Cameron Kosich, Matt Krause, and Zach Serzo, along with Keith Fields. But the key to this game, I think, is going to be, can Lake Orion develop a passing attack, especially when you look at what Oxford plans to do. Of course, Oxford, they might follow the same game plan Troy did, basically, by putting 10 guys in the box that contain Matt Krause. Krause had 121 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. But of course, Lake Orion's got to figure a way to stop Glacier Wallington. Wallington last year just absolutely tortured the Dragons defense. He just tortured it. He could either just hand it off to Ben Line or just even run it himself through a veer option or an ISO or trap. This is going to be a very, very tough matchup, I think, for Lake Orion's defense, especially heading into this matchup. But when you look at it here, Oxford, they had some issues with Lake Orion's speed last year. And, of course, last year allowing that long touchdown run to Corey Esther on the kickoff return, that just really hurt Oxford. And, of course, Oxford did have a chance to win that game with the onside kick, but it was being picked off but Wallington was picked off by Jalen Wiggins. The key to this game, I think, is can Lake Orion's defensive line get to Wallington and force Oxford to throw, especially on the third down in long situations. Wallington, he's a good passer, but he doesn't want to throw it a lot. It's more he want to use his feet, but Stony Creek did a very good job shutting Oxford down to him. But it was played on Oxford's pace. Of course, Oxford, we all know Oxford, they like to do the pound the rock, time possession football. They want to keep it away. But if Lake Orion's defense can toughen up, man up, I think that it's going to be a huge it'll be a huge boost for this team, But when I look at this game, of course, on the blue turf, Oxford's last loss on the blue turf was to Lake Orion last year, 35-30. I look at this game here, Oxford's going to be motivated, the emotion's high, but, when I look at this game on paper, I think Lake Orion's line is bigger up front than Oxford. Oxford's going to be tough. I think it's going to be a close game. It'll be a 7-point game. But I just think that Lake Orion's offensive line and also the emergence of Cameron Kosich is going to be huge in this game. And also, Lake Orion will finally find a passing game in this one here. I think because Oxford's going to really focus a lot of their attention on Matt Krause and Zach Serzo. I just think Lake Orion wins this game by a touchdown, because I just think right now that I think when you look at the schedule, I think Lake Orion's played a much tougher schedule than Oxford. They played Chippewa Valley, of course, earlier in the year. Of course, Chippewa Valley for some reasons 1-2. Romeo's also 1-2. But of course, they beat. I just like Lake Orion in this game because I just think right now that the way the Dragons are playing, especially offensively, they're only virtually running 2 plays. Virtually. But we'll see what happens there. When you look at this game here, I just think that Zach Serzo's going to have a huge game. I think that when I look at Oxford's side, I think Glacier Wallington's going to have a huge game. I think Sanj Stugenbach's going to have a huge game. Dallas Truitt's going to have a huge game. But I just think right now that with the way both these teams are playing, I just think that I really think that Lake Orion's got enough weapons to win this game. Any final thoughts here? Of course, here on the OAA Now, of course, very interesting week. Of course, a lot of homecoming games coming up soon. Especially in week 4, week 5, around there. When we'll just see what happens coming up. There is right now when I look at these games, not a lot on paper, of course, for this week's games, but you look at next week's games, you got Clarkson, Oxford, Lake Orion, West Bloomfield. You got Berkeley, Avondale. You got, and of course, you got Adams, Oak Park. Southfield, Harrison. You got a lot of good games next week. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. Also in volleyball, of course, the Red starts this week. Of course, we'll see what happens there, and we'll start getting ready for the year. Of course, Thursday it all starts. Let the fun begin on Thursday. Of course, everybody here for Sammy, everybody here serving us the Dragons. And I'd like to thank Joe Velez for giving me an opportunity to produce the show this week, and also I'd like to thank my co-host. I'd also like to thank my people here. Of course, if you want to send questions and tweets about OAA Now, you can email me. You can email me on Twitter at I'm at I'm at Saginaw Bay. So you can so any question you can do, just ask me any question referring to the OAA, also referring to football, also referring to soccer. Of course, soccer I got to give some love to. Of course, a lot of these teams, you know what I mean, and also cross country. Of course, it'll be interesting. Cross country very evenly matched. I think Lake Orion, Adams, very interesting, and also in soccer, of course, you got the Red. You got Lake Orion's doing very, very well right now, but also you got to look at Adams, Stony Creek, and also, and Oxford right now is undefeated in soccer right now, so you got to give some love there to Oxford as well. So for Sammy, for the OAA Now crew, I'm Sammy Termina. Have a good day, everybody. Good night, and God bless the USA. Yes.
OAA Now is produced at Orion Neighborhood Television, Lake Orion's community media outlet. To learn more about ONTV, visit our website at www.orionontv.org or call us at 248-393-1060.